The spirit of our being, the essence of our being, will speak through us and say the right words at the right time. So we don't have to worry. He tells us, do not worry. We don't have to worry about this or that. Because if we open up ourselves, we will receive all of the information, all of the ideas, all of the resources that we need. Does that make sense? We're talking about overcoming the fears and overcoming the challenges and issues of life that have held us back. And then he gives us, Charles Fillmore gives us some steps to overcoming. I'm going to add a couple more steps. So step number one, and you may want to write this down. Step number one, he said the way of overcoming is first to place oneself by faith in the realization of sonship. Number one, realize it's called sonship. Realize that you are a son of God or a child of God. Now, what does Scripture tell us? Well, Scripture tells us something very important. Paul, as a matter of fact, tells us something very much related to that. Paul tells us in the book of Romans, chapter 8, beginning at verse 16, he said, the Spirit himself, the Spirit of God that dwells within you and I and everyone, the Spirit himself bears witness with our spirit that we are children of God. And if children, then heirs of God, and joint heirs with Christ. What more can you ask for but to be an heir of God? What is an heir? An heir is someone who is entitled to something. Well, if you're an heir of God, and God is life and love and health and peace and beauty and abundance, then guess what? That means that you are entitled to experience all of that because you are a child of God, an heir. And talks about being a joint heir with Christ. My friends, Charles Fillmore is telling us the same thing that Scripture is telling us. Number one, realize that we're not merely Carol or Jim or John or Sabo or Bill working at such and such a place, living at such and such an address. No, no, no. We are much more than that. We are an heir of God, a child of God. But you may say, wait, Brother Sabo, but I just got laid off. I don't have a job. Guess what? You're still a child of God. Or you may say, well, you know what tragedy happened to me? This member of my family passed away. I had that tragedy. I had so many things going. I don't know what. Guess what? You're still a child of God. You may say, but the budget, the federal budget, they're cutting the budget, cutting programs, and the state budget, and they're laying people off, and they're taking away services. Guess what? You're still a child of God. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. You may say, but my children are acting up, and they're getting in trouble with the law. Guess what? You're still a child of God. And on and on. You may say, but I'm having trouble in my household, my relationship with my mate, my wife, my husband, guess what? You're still a child of God. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay. We're talking about how to overcome things in our life, world, and affairs that would keep us from living the good life that we are entitled to live. So, number one, realize our sonship with God. Sonship, our relationship to God. Sonship, oneship. There's a oneness between us and God. That's number one. And then he tells us secondly, to demonstrate it being our oneness with God, us being an heir of God, to demonstrate it faithfully in every thought and act. which means that when we are in a situation, instead of demonstrating the lack and limitation, and you may say, but this is real. The doctor says I got to take this medication, and so, yeah, that's real. You got to take the medication. However, your thought should not be merely, well, I've got to take this medication, otherwise. Some people have various ailments, and they say, well, I'm a this, and I'm a that. You know what I'm talking about? I'm a survivor of soul. No, you're not. You're a child of God. Regardless of what your physical body has, and express it.